Maurice Colos Ruffin, author of The American Daughters.
My name is Imani Perry, author of Black and Blues.
So, Dr. Perry, how are you today?
I'm pretty good, all things considered.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, you're here at Baldwin, you're here in New Orleans.
Yes.
And I always love having you in town, but I feel weird having you here with this like police state we got going on right now. You might have saw that there's like police, feds, tanks, everything else in town right now.
Yeah.
I wish we were here like under a lighter circumstance.
Me too. It's terrifying, actually. And I was thinking, riding over here, seeing all of the tanks and the assault rifles, that I guess theoretically this is supposed to make us feel safer.
Right.
But it actually was quite terrifying to me, particularly given the powers that be that we're operating with right now.
That's exactly it. I saw them arresting or at least questioning a houseman who was just sitting on the ground by himself. And I'm like, I would see that guy just walking around. I think, oh, that's just one of my neighbors. He's a fellow citizen.
Absolutely.
I didn't feel in danger around him. But now you got these people with these long rifles. And again, we get the tanks, which I've never really seen a tank in New Orleans, other than Katrina for a second.
Sure.
I've never really seen a tank. And it's all brought here for entertainment purposes, which is also kind of bizarre too.
Say more about that.
Well, I mean, we have a big game coming up.
Right.
It's the biggest televised event in the world. It gets bigger every year. Mm-hmm. It's seen all over the world in most countries. It's propaganda.
Yeah.
It's violent. It's vicious. Even with the money that's made by, the brothers involved in the game, they're being taken advantage of to a certain extent.
Sure.
And of course, you have to protect that.
Yeah.
Americans are often good at protecting things that media shouldn't be protecting so much.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I for an Alabama, and I don't know too much about football. I'm not a father of football, but I think that point, it's interesting how much it has been this flashpoint of culture over the past decade, from Kaepernick, right, onward. And this idea that somehow football represents the United States. But then thinking about this, I guess one of the questions I am struggling with is whether this is really the sort of all the paramilitary forces is about the Super Bowl, or it is also some kind of display that is actually really about making us adjusted to having tanks and soldiers in our streets, whether it's about an exercise of force that's the same kind of display of Americana that the Super Bowl itself is. I think part of what's hard is I'm not entirely clear about how to read this moment. And I guess that's the other thing that I was hoping we could talk about, because for you as an attorney, and for me as a former law professor, this question about what is the legal regime doing? What is law? Does it exist anymore? What is it doing? What is it not doing? Are we just going to fall into a completely fascistic state?
I mean, there's the frog in the pot of boiling water, that old metaphor.
Yeah.
And then there's the idea of the Overton window.
Mm.
And if what's going on now continues long enough, you could have a generation of young people who see this as normal.
Absolutely.
And they just buy into it. And I'm really amazed at how, when we were talking before about this idea of traditions. I know when I was in law school, my common law professor, Professor Medina, she would always say, even the laws to a certain extent are just traditions, and they're just ideas that we have decided to agree to. And the state administrations come in and as fast as possible try to tear apart as many traditions as they possibly could, from renaming the Gulf of Mexico to say there's no longer birthright citizenship. And what we really see is that, people are grumbling online, but to a certain extent, people are acting as if they're helpless, which is strange to me.
It is.
There's these moments in time where, like I think Baldwin would talk about it, this idea of you got to show up physically for something. Like go to the White House. Just a few thousand people just go in front of the White House so they can see you standing there and know your presence. Yeah. As opposed to like posting on Snapchat, which, the current is on tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's going to be a few minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's funny because when I used to teach legal history and con law, I used to always make the point, the Supreme Court does not have any enforcement power, right? We learned that early on. And so the court, for all of their interpretations to be validated, requires one of the other branches. What happens now that all the branches are controlled by this party that seems, hell bent on destroying any sense of accountability in the law? And I guess the other part then is what you just said is, okay, so the court may not have enforcement power, but we as not even just citizens, people who live in the nation have some kind of enforcement power, but don't believe we do. I mean, why do you think that is?
What's tricky to me is that there's a certain kindness and there's a certain decorum that I think especially exists on the left side of the spectrum, from the moderates in the middle all the way over. And think about January 6th, for example. That was an unprecedented moment. We use that word so much, but these are unprecedented times.
Yes.
And this idea of thousands of people who would leave a rally by the guy that just lost, who says, stand in for me and go to this place. And, they go to the Capitol and they break in and they beat up cops and they tase them and at least to the death of some people. And then there was a commentator said this that I thought was interesting. Okay, why would you pardon those people? And they made the analogy of a king or a despot when they have run a revolution and their people to be freed.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, yeah, just leave him in jail. It's like, no, his troops won. His troops showed up and won. They physically showed up and won. So, of course, people on the left, we have this tradition of like protesting, and that's been a thing for a long time for us. I mean, not the right has adopted it. It's almost as if we're afraid of it.
Yeah.
Look, the whole Gaza thing is difficult for me because I remember when Ta-Nehisi was here and I was talking about it, and he was spitting wisdom as always.
Yeah. And
I kept thinking about these young people showing up to colleges and protesting, but in the back of my mind, his little voice kept saying, "You're yelling at the wrong people. These college presidents, they don't pull any levers. They just following orders from somebody else."
That's the truth.
And because both sides of the politics, the former president and the current president, believe the same thing, let them starve, let them die, let the babies, die as well. Again, go to those people. Go to the White House. Go to Mar-a-Lago. Say something. Yeah. Be heard. And let it happen. And now we're in a situation where we had 40,000 dead. And I think today the president released a thing saying that all of the Palestinians just get out, just leave Gaza. Being a little rough being rough could be a good way of being effective, of actually putting your bodies on the line. But how can I say that as a Black man, to a Black woman? We've seen so much in this world against us.
Right. I mean, I think it's what you said. I think that's the terrifying piece. And when you were talking about just now about the student protests, one of the things for me that was really tricky with having students of mine who protested all throughout my career, this was very different, right? This is the first time I had students who were actually charged with crimes for protesting, even though they had taken over buildings before, or the threat of expulsion, even if they had things so the consequences were different. So then it becomes, in terms of political organizing, this is why I'm really intrigued by you talking about putting bodies on the line, because in terms of political organizing, we sort of try to operate from a place strategically. If I do this, it's going to do, you sort of try to plot out. Now we're in a phase, I think, where it's not clear what the response is going to be. So it is at any possible moment putting your body on the line, because it could be a completely disproportionate response. Yeah. It intended to silence people.
If somebody protested here in New Orleans at the Super Bowl, I could see that getting out of hand really fast.
Yeah.
And the more I think about it, I can just see it getting out of hand just in the future. Over the next 4 years, there'll be a moment. I think one of the things that was encouraged to me about the George Floyd protests, which were global, they were in Germany and Australia and everywhere, was that was not necessarily us doing most of that.
That's right.
I'm on my couch looking at my phone, Instagram, going like, oh, look at y'all showed up for a change. But then on the other side, you have in our democracy, 51% voting for the people who are saying, we don't really care about that stuff very much.
So what do you think, though? I love that you raised this, because I now don't have an account of why the whole world took to the streets. Given where the world is now, I can't square it.
I would say that most of our experiences in this world are kind of pendulum, or the idea that history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. So even the idea that the current president is acting like a king right now. That happened in ancient Rome with Caesar. He's the one that ended the kingdom of Rome and started the Republic of Rome. So there's that part of it. And I think to a certain extent, having President Obama become the president, for a lot of the world, regardless of their personal politics or their racist or non-racist tendencies, they saw it as a beacon of hope. And you've seen people acting dissent be attacked and denigrated for centuries now. But here's this black man running the biggest, most powerful nation on earth. That's a beautiful thing.